Hello, and welcome to my cooking channel. But Rebecca, you hate to cook and bake and candy make. Yes, that is true, but I do love a good internet trend. And when I saw the hot cocoa bombs, I was like, I have to make this. So today I wanted to do a DIY versus buy. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Now, the first thing that I will tell you is that I happened to be at Target when they were stocking these beauties the other day, okay? So I keep calling them hot cocoa bombs. They're actually hot chocolate bombs. There's no cocoa inside. It's a chocolate shell and there are many marshmallows inside, so that's what sort of gives it the explosion. Now, these, I believe they're exactly the same because when I look at the nutrition information, they're the exact same ingredients, number of calories, so I'm sure that they're the same. This is a 3-pack. This was $3.99 at Target, and then this is a 6-pack. It was $7.99, and I think that they both make really nice gifts, but I will tell you, I got this yesterday, and it is completely sold out at my Target today, and these are still available, but I just want to tell you that if you're thinking about getting these, you have to get them. Like the fact that they flew off the shelves that fast and it's like the second week of November, they're going to be super popular. So if you want to get them now. And I will also say that if you want to make them because you can't get them or you just want to see if you can figure it out, you totally can. So let me tell you what you're going to need. You're going to need this thingy. It's an ice mold. I didn't really know this because I'm not much of a drinker, but apparently when people drink scotch, they like round ice balls in there, and I just didn't know that. And so this is actually an ice tray. So when you use this, you're going to use obviously this side and not this side, the side that has the holes in it. So you'll need this. Now I got this for $10 at Target, and I'll link it below. And I want to say that I've done this several times to try to make the best hot cocoa bomb possible. And at first I was like, I'm not spending, you know how cheap I am. I'm not spending $10 on this. Like, I'm just not. That's for amateurs. I can do it for $1.99 with like a little it was like a Christmas ornament that you can open in half, and I'll use that. And look what this mess was like. Like, it was a crumbly disaster. So I cannot recommend, like, this is your key piece, very like bendy silicone. So you definitely need this. You need some chocolate. I'm going to use a blend of dark chocolate and milk chocolate. And even though these ones are just a shell, I put a little cocoa inside. And you need some marshmallows. Now, I told you that I was going to be giving you some tips along the way. And the first tip that I want to tell you is that you all know, again, how cheap I am. But I am like, you have to use the Swiss Miss because it's the best. Another thing is that these are the Aldi marshmallows, and they're like a little like stuck together. They were like super, like the bag was like no air in it at all. And then these are the Jet Puff Craft, like the name brand ones. And like, look at this. You see that? See how aerodynamic those marshmallows are? Like, you need the name brand. Just take my word for it, okay? So you have all of those ingredients. I'm using a spoon. I'm actually using a baby spoon because I feel like it's a little bit easier to use. And I have a little dish. So here we go. All right, so the first thing that I'm gonna do is melt my chocolate. So this is like a nice, expensive Lindt dark chocolate, 85% cocoa. And then these are my cheap milk chocolate Aldi cooking chocolate chips. All right, so I'm gonna mix them together. Now, after I have made these like several times, I have found taste-wise, and like in terms of holding it together, the best option is when you blend the milk and the dark chocolate. When you melt them, straight up dark chocolate's gonna be a little bit thinner and runnier, and the milk chocolate's a little bit thinner, so I kind of like that balance. I would say, yeah, it's not quite half and half, probably a little bit more with the milk chocolate. And the other thing that I learned about tempering chocolate, and I was like, I am not gonna go out and buy like a candy thermometer. Like, that's beyond me, my skills, my interest level. But just don't burn the chocolate, right? That was the message I got, because if you do, it gets like crumbly and it won't like snap out of this. So what I recommend is when you put this in the microwave to melt this, you don't want to melt it till it's liquidy. You want to wait until there are some chunks in it, or microwave it until you can still see chunks, and stir the chunks in till they melt. And if you can't get them all the way in, maybe put them in for a few more seconds, but like, do not microwave it and melt it until it's liquidy, or else it might be too far gone. So that's how I personally avoided burning the chocolate without getting a candy thermometer. So I'm going to go ahead and microwave this. So I just got the chocolate out of the microwave. I did it on for 30 seconds and then like another 15. And when I got it out, you can see right here that it is a little bit, it's got like a little bit lumpy, but instead of waiting until it's completely liquidy, I'm gonna go ahead and just stir it until it gets like a nice smooth texture. And that way I can do it at a slow pace like that, and I can ensure that I haven't burned it. So as you can see right now, it is just like perfect. The next thing that I want to do is use my mold and put 2 layers of chocolate in there. So as I do this, I'm going to just scoop out a tiny bit, and I'm going to make sure that I bring it all the way up so that it is all the way up to the edge. You don't want it to fall short at all. And after you do the first layer, you might notice there's a little bit extra chocolate like at the bottom, like it sort of dripped down or melted down to the bottom. That's okay, totally fine. After the first layer, I'm going to go ahead and put these in the freezer. And I'm going to leave them there for about, this first round, I'm going to leave them in there for about 3 or 4 minutes. All right, so when you look in them, you can see that they're not entirely frozen, but they definitely have that look of like they're not melty and liquidy either. So this is a good time to put on your second layer, and then you're gonna put them in the freezer for like 15 to 20 minutes. Now, if you are an impatient person like I am, especially when I'm making this video, this is a huge Pinterest fail from the other night. If you take them out too soon and you try to get them out of the mold, it is going to be a disaster. So you need to leave them in there for a minimum of 15 minutes, maybe 20 to be on the safe side. So I'm gonna go ahead and do round 2. I especially want to focus on the upper part, especially because a lot of the chocolate has like sunk to the bottom. But I'm going to go ahead and reinforce this one more time, and then I'm going to leave it in the freezer for 15 to 20 minutes. All right, so I just applied my second layer. I'm going to put them in there for 15 to 20 minutes. If you're doing this, remember, be patient. That's my #1 tip for this part. This is the hardest part of this. Well, there are 2 hard parts, but this is the first hard part, is to freeze these properly and get them out. Once you've done that, most of it is easy and simple and downhill from here. But leave them in there for 15 to 20 minutes. I'm gonna go put them in now. All right, so it's actually been closer to 30 minutes, but I'm really glad that I took the time to just be patient, because the colder they are, the easier that it is to get them out and make sure that they won't fall apart. So hopefully things go well. We took a little break and went and looked at my husband's Christmas light show. He put up a little thing outside and it looks awesome. So find something to do so that you're not tempted to be like, okay, I'll just take them out early. Do not do this. My #1 tip, biggest tip, do not get these out of the freezer early. So I'm gonna go grab them and I'll show you how to get them out. All right, so to begin with, getting them out is like, once you've done that, the hard part, for the most part, is over. Okay, so you wanna take advantage of the fact that this is super silicone-y and stretchy. So instead of popping them out from the bottom, you want to like pull apart from the sides, and you're gonna hear this peeling sound, and you're gonna see them start to peel out. And once you go all the way around the outside, then you're gonna pop up. If you're afraid you're gonna crack them, and you're not ready to pop them up, put your warm palm on the bottom of it, and then it might slide out easier. So let me show you. So you can see that they are frozen. So what I wanna do is I'm gonna start, and I'm just gonna pull these out. Do you see that? Do you see how it popped right there? Right here from that side. Do you see right there how it popped? So I'm just gonna go around the outside. I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm just gonna go around the outside. Okay. Now, one thing is you have to be careful not to break any of the other ones. So once you get the first one out and the second one, like, it gets just continuously easier. So this one's almost out, so I'm gonna go ahead and just keep on keeping on. All right, so you see this one's almost out. All right, so since it is, now I'm gonna gently whip my hand here for a second to warm it up on the bottom. And then we're just gonna slide it out. You can hear it pop. Oh, hear little angels sing. Oh, I got it out. Okay, now I will give you another tip. If you're afraid that your hands are too warm, your kitchen's too warm, you live in Florida, take this piece, the one that I told you don't pour anything in because there's a hole at the bottom, and you can just rest it there. I recommend resting it kind of like at an angle so it's easier to pick up. And then you can just leave these for the time being in your fridge or your freezer so that they don't get too warm. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop the rest out, and then we will put them together. All right, so I've popped them all out. I'm gonna put my shells on this plate. Now, I'm assuming that you want a drink that is both delicious and Instagrammable, or if you're cool and you're on TikTok. I'm old, so don't mind me. But you want something that looks cool, like does the marshmallow explosion, but also tastes good. All right, so the fact that it's in a shell of chocolate is going to make it taste good, but I have made the perfect interior recipe. I've spent so much time on this for someone that really doesn't like to cook, but okay. So you're gonna take your hot cocoa mix. You're gonna open up one of the packets, and you're gonna dump it out onto the plate. But before you do that, you're gonna dump a tiny bit of the cocoa mix into the bottom of the shell. So I'm just pouring a little bit in there, right? Just a little. And then what I wanna do is dump this out. I have found that the perfect ratio has a little bit of hot cocoa, 8 or so mini marshmallows, and 10 big fluffy marshmallows. Now listen to me. I know you're gonna think that I'm getting a little arrogant, like, how do you know you just started this week? Do not put 12 marshmallows in there, okay? I tried 12, 10 max is what you can do. And I'll show you one of my hot cocoa bombs with 12. It's like busting at the seams, because what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to melt one of these shells and stick it on top. And if it's bursting with marshmallows, it's not gonna seal. You know, that's like really an interesting problem to have. You have too many marshmallows in your life, but take it from me. 8 mini marshmallows, 10 of the bigger marshmallows, and a little bit of hot cocoa. If at any time you feel like, okay, my hands are too hot, my kitchen's too hot, or these are like starting to get kind of like, it's just too warm, feel free to put everything, just take the whole plate, stick it in the fridge or the freezer for a minute just to cool everything down. All right, so now we're gonna go over to the stovetop, and I have one of these little, it's like my omelet pan, and I'm just gonna get it nice and hot. Now, one thing I will tell you is that you wanna make sure that when it's on your hot cocoa, like the stove will get really hot and it can melt. Like just this sitting next to your stove can melt it. So keep this far away from the stovetop, okay? So I'm gonna walk over there. Carefully. All right, what did I tell you? 10 marshmallows, okay? So what you wanna do is you wanna get your marshmallows ready. Now, like I said, we're gonna put our 8 mini marshmallows in here. Now this one already has, I see 4. So that one's got 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, I'm digging through a pile of cocoa. I think that's all that's in here. Oh, I feel one. 7. All right, so there's a few of the mini marshmallows, and now I'm gonna put the squishy marshmallows in there, okay? So I have not been able to successfully fit more than 10 in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right, like I really can't fit more than that. That's about, I think this is about 9, okay? So you wanna do this over here at the stovetop because you don't wanna be hauling your plate all over the kitchen. So I'm gonna turn this on pretty high, and be careful when you do this because it's hot and I don't want you to burn yourself or get hurt or set your smoke alarm off. All right, so I can feel the heat from this. This is always like the nerve-wracking part because if you've been able to pop the shells out, that's the main thing, and then sealing it is the second hard part. I will tell you, experiment with the number of marshmallows you can fit. I know I gave my numbers, but if you try to do too many, it's just not gonna work. Okay, so I'm gonna take this. I'm turn this off, and I'm just gonna carefully, got a little hot cocoa on there, but I'm gonna just carefully go like this, and I'm gonna scooch it off to the side, come over here, and seal it shut. And I might have to hold it for a second. You can see where that seal line is, but I'm just gonna leave it shut. My first one went well, thank goodness. And we're just gonna leave it like that. Now, if the seal line doesn't look great, it's no big deal. You can always just drizzle a little white chocolate over it, which I'm definitely gonna do, but that's it. And you might wanna leave it there. You can always take the hot cocoa ball and just gently roll it on your saucepan like this, and that can help with your seal, just in case it's not 100%. Just like a nice little, like this, and it helps give you that line. All right, and there we go. So sometimes these are good, sometimes they're a little bit more challenging, but I have managed to make a few. There are always hiccups along the way, so if it doesn't work out perfectly, just try again. So I'm gonna decorate with a little white chocolate, and then we're gonna do a little Target versus mine. So there you have it, a delicious mug of hot cocoa. So what I did is I used a knife and I actually cut into one of the Target ones, and you can see that they're actually, I thought they would be pretty thin, but they actually are pretty thick. They have a good amount of chocolate, and each of these I would say probably has 25 mini marshmallows. So it's definitely a great gift item. In the end of DIY versus buy, I would say buy. I'm not like a crafty, well, I don't want to say like not a crafty person, because some things I enjoy doing, but this is pretty time intensive and it can kind of make a huge mess, and you like have chocolate all over your counter, and I just think it would be easier to spend the $3.99 and get them. But they're a really cute gift idea, and they can easily be made. I should say, not easily, they can be made if you find yourself in December really wanting these for fun or for a party. I've seen a lot of the really cute hot cocoa charcuterie boards. They've been really popular all over, and they've got like hot cocoa and candy canes and things like that. So they could easily be made. Again, I'm gonna say not easily, they can be made if you can't find them in stores, but my preference would be just to buy them. And they both taste really good. In terms of taste, they both have a good amount of chocolate. They both have a good amount of marshmallows, so you can't really go wrong either way. Anyway, if you've done this and you are a little bit better in the kitchen than I am, I would love to hear your comments below if you have any tips or insights or tricks. One last thing I will say is that sometimes you're expecting that like perfect moment that you've probably seen on the internet where the marshmallows just explode. And I tried a bunch of these, like poured several times, and sometimes it took over a minute for the marshmallows to explode. So just something to keep in mind, whether it's yours or the store-bought, they don't always explode perfectly after like 15 seconds. So just keep that in mind. So as I said, I'd love to hear your suggestions if you have any, and leave them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and I hope to see you next time. And I wish you a happy holiday season. Can I tell you a secret? This has 2 cocoa bombs in it. It is so good.